From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode. My name is Rhubarb. Rhubarb?
What?
I don't know. Bill?
Bill.
Okay, we're going with Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicky.
I'm not Rhubarb. We have a guest. We have a returning guest, Miss Vicky.
I know.
He is the go-to guy for everything BMW, and we all know we go through a lot of BMW parts on this side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
He is on the Bimmerworld racing team. He seems to be the answerer of every question we've ever had, and even some that we didn't know we had, because he called up and said, "Are you sure this is what you want?" So welcome back to the podcast, Phil Wurz. Welcome back, Phil.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be back.
Wow, awesome. So last time you were on, we're going to get into a little bit about your briefing, but last time we were on, you challenged us to convert our entire garage to BMWs, and we did pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Until one of them blew up from a... What are the chances of a fuel injector staying open? Is this weird? It seems weird.
Sort of weird, but not the most uncommon and outrageous thing I've heard of. That's for sure. I wouldn't say it's a massive anomaly.
So annoying. Anyway, we're in the middle of an engine swap. It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's
which car is that?
E46 M3.
Okay.
Yeah. I was less than happy. But these things happen no matter what car, no matter who.
Injectors are hard to come by for those things now.
Yeah.
It's
we had five
Bosch
good ones.
Stop making them, or
We had five good
stop
ones.
supplying them.
Oh, really? I better order them soon. Okay. I think I have some on the shelf, but I don't have any spares. So sounds like another order coming your way, Mister.
Yeah, genuine BMW is the only option at the moment, and they are expensive from genuine BMW. So
Yes, they are. They tend to be. So in case people have not called you on the phone asking their BMW questions or didn't listen to our earlier podcast, which it's there, you should go do it. We good stuff last time. Could you kind of give a brief introduction to yourself? Just, family life, racing life, professional life, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sales and operations manager at Bimmerworld, which some of you may know is a BMW part supplier, OEM parts, performance parts, anything you need for your BMW. We also are a race team, have a few BMW race cars raced professionally. I have been at Bimmerworld for 15-ish years now, and I've raced, started when it was still Chump Car, almost 10 years ago, and have raced Spec E30, raced Spec E46, and enjoy my time on the track.
Mm-hmm. And you're racing BMWs now, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. And what is the BMW that you're currently racing?
Currently in my garage, I house a Spec E46. So E46 330, which some of you may know, that class is quite popular in the BMW world, in the spec racing world.
Yep, we're going to talk a lot more about that later.
Oh yeah.
So one of the things I find tricky to figure out is exactly what cars Bimmerworld is racing, because it seems like either the liveries change a lot, or you guys have more than one car, or both.
We have three that we race professionally. There's two M4 GT4s that we race in SRO, one in AM class. James and Charlie won the AM championship this year in that class. One in Pro-Am, and then we also have an M4 GT3. the other GT4, Devin Jones and James Walker Jr. drove that car, and then the GT3, that is Bill Arberlin and Chandler Hall.
Okay. And you guys race in a variety of series, and I've seen you pretty much all over the country. So what series are you guys competing with?
Yeah, that's SRO, used to be called World Challenge. They go all over the place. California, Canada, pretty much anywhere up and down the East Coast, COTA. So yeah, travel all around.
Did you guys get to go uphill this year, or did you? I thought I saw you guys at Pikes Peak.
We did. So James went to Pikes. That was June. The Bergsteiger car, which is a quite intense hill climb car, E36 based, sort of. What remains of an E36?
I was going to say there's not much E36 I can recognize.
No, it's just kind of shaped like one, but it's certainly BMW in spirit. But yeah, that was an intense ride up the hill for James this year. It was great weather all week, fantastic weather, and then come race day, it's wet, foggy. I mean, every run it looked like it was changing. Someone might have a somewhat clear run, and then all of a sudden it's foggy. James's end car, you can see it. It's just, I don't know how you would even drive up that thing.
Yeah, I saw some people using the mop on a stick, and it still wasn't getting the windows clean.
Yep, that's a classic move there.
Yep, exactly.
So why BMWs? Besides the fact that you work with them, I mean, why BMWs?
Why should somebody do BMW?
Well,
Why?
Gosh, they're when you look around I guess when you look around the market and what you're going to get into, what you get for the dollar for performance, it's kind of tough to beat in one sense. There's typically Mazdas, there's Porsches, there's BMWs, there's a lot of American cars that are in the mix nowadays as well. But BMWs seem to have a very, very well-rounded, complete package that is really tough to beat. If you're, especially considering, Porsches, there's some pretty sweet Porsches out there, but you're going to pay for those things, that's for sure. And then performance-wise, you're going to get a little bit more out of a BMW than some of the other cars.
So you challenged us to convert the entire garage to BMWs and get rid of everything else, and half in jest, because other cars are fun to drive too. So let's see, how did we end up? We ended up with an M3, E46 M3. We ended up with an E46, a spec E46 Plus, because we made it into an endurance car.
Right.
And then Ben is still working on his spec E46 car, and I don't know, how would you classify Ben's mechanical motivation? Less than zero? Not great.
Ben just doesn't like to work on cars, and I think
he likes to drive them really much.
He likes to drive them. He just doesn't like to work on them.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own thing. You got drivers, you got
right.
mechanics, you got it's a mix.
Yeah, he's got two little ones too, so that's not helping him at all. And then Jeremy's got a spec E46 car coming. I think he's going to go a little bit off the path and go for more endurance racing. But so I think we got the 5, and we might have some hidden ones around that Vicky doesn't know about yet. But we'll talk about that another time. Another time.
What?
Another time. Anyway, so we did pretty well. You gave us homework. We took notes. I'm
proud of you guys. Proud of you.
We're like 50-50 now. I think it's pretty close. So, and I think what would you say, like, relative to the usual suspects, the advantages or disadvantage of a BMW versus the other classic choices that people have that are kind of the easy buttons?
Oh,
I have ideas, but I might be wrong too.
What are your ideas? Share.
I figured I'd throw myself on the bus there. So I would say, if somebody said, why would you look for a BMW? It's kind of on a good amount of power, meaning more than Mazda Miata and 86s. Although I haven't driven the new 86s. They have a little more grunt now. It's got really good handling, exceptional brakes, and it's not super expensive. It's not cheap though. I mean, it's not the cheapest car to maintain, but it's also not in the crazy. So it's kind of maybe the sweet spot for balance of performance versus cost versus durability. There's obviously some weak spots that you have to address, but that's same for every car.
Every car has that. And yeah,
Exactly.
they really fall within a performance window that is, like you said, a pretty solid sweet spot for all that you get. You know, spec Miatas are fun, right? You want to go out there and
sure.
wheel with a bunch of people, but not everybody wants to just stay full throttle around the entire track. Some people want to actually play with the car a little bit.
It's also a easier fit for the more luxurious members of our society.
Yeah, you can say that.
Miss Vicky can drive anything she wants, but
Yeah. So when my favorite questions, and I say this every podcast, when you get behind the wheel, do you instruct at all, or
I
do you
do.
coach?
I do.
Okay.
I don't much, but I do
Yeah.
instruct every now and then.
What do you like tell yourself when you're racing, or advice that you give, your philosophy, your motto when you're racing? Do you have one when you're kind of like really stressed, or like a little mantra that you live by behind the wheel?
Oh, I find myself when I get stressed and worked up, I lose track of the fundamentals. I mean, even the basics of just eyes up, just look ahead. And
Mhm.
constantly I'm telling myself, I'll be out there, I'll be racing hard, a couple laps, start messing up a couple spots, and just got a few deep breaths, calm down, and reset. Figure it out. Eyes up, look ahead, and get back to the fundamentals. Gosh, one time I got really nervous because James was in the car with me actually, and he was doing a little coaching, helping me out. And I'm missing every freaking apex. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just overdriving the car." And I just had to like calm down. And yeah, the reset and deep breaths are pretty important for me at times. And I've gotten over that a good bit these days, but
Mhm.
it took a little bit.
Wow.
For sure.
Yeah, eyes up is really important. That's a good one.
It is.
Mhm. So far, you're working with BMW. How many years you been racing?
2013 was my first race. A
Ooh, you've
chump
been
car
in.
race in an E36 at AMP.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been on track before that except for once in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And I get on track and I am, talking about being nervous and freaking out a little bit. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was out
Yeah.
there and I remember I started the race and I was tucked behind a Miata for probably 5-6 laps, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to get around the car, and then settled in and it all started clicking. And from there I was hooked on racing and yeah, I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. So, where do you see it going? I mean, you're obviously in with BMW. Do you build cars over there also sometimes?
Yeah, we do build cars. We typically would limit that to spec E46s. It seems like we do some other customer work, but the race team stays so busy on the pro side of things that there just isn't much time for a lot of customer work. We're getting into the off season now where we may do a couple builds here and there, but spec E46 really is the easy button answer to just kind of puzzle piece one of those things together, and seems like the demand is there for them as well.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, that's a transition I can't let go by, because that's the subject that we're going to get into right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Phil, codename Carrie on screen for the home gamers.
Using my wife's laptop.
I was gonna say the hair grew since we were on last time, but I don't think you changed to Carrie yet. But that's okay. So, just in case, you never know, could be somebody's first ever time they've heard about Spec E46. Could be their first time ever listening to the podcast. Why? Come on back. We do this all the time. What is Spec E46?
Spec E46 is a spec racing class, which as a foundation means that everybody is racing effectively the same car. There's a few minor differences, but the base car is an E46 330 and some spec components that you have to throw on it. Everyone has the same suspension. Everyone has the same approximate power output, or at least there's a power limit. And a few little things that you can do here and there to the car, but overall it's pretty well locked down so that everyone has a very well balanced for competitive racing for a driver's class versus there's other classes, GTS, ST, IP, other classes that you can go race and do big aero and tweak on the car. If you're a tinkerer, that's probably where you want to be. But if you're looking for a little bit more potentially competitive racing, then a spec class may be for you. And Spec E46 seems to hit a lot of the points that people want to see in one of those classes.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the field sizes are growing quite rapidly too.
Oh gosh, yeah, quite a bit. Even in some of the slower going regions, some of the central area of the states sometimes takes a little bit longer for a class to build, but it seems like that's starting to come along. But yeah, gosh, out here at the VIR event for BWCCA in April, we had 50 some cars take the green flag. Not uncommon for 20 at any given event, and that sometimes on the low side, but 20 to 30 cars at any given event is pretty standard. And also you can cross class the car a little bit, or cross sanctioning body the car, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You can run it in BMW CCA club racing. You can also run it in NASA, and then also you can run it in SCCA in a T3 class with a little bit more weight, but it does fit into that class fairly well.
Seems to be doing okay in grid life. GLTC too.
Yes, I have not taken part in a grid life event, but I swear that keeps popping up more and more and more. I have a feeling that I will be making my way to one of those events at some point, maybe next year.
Oh, you should definitely go.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys go to many of those?
They're mostly Midwest up until this year, so they came east for 2, and we went to both of them.
Awesome.
So we're making a Sunday Cup car, which actually, newsflash, we're making 2 Sunday Cup cars, because what's the best thing about Sunday Cup is racing against your friends. What would make that even better? Racing against your beautiful bride. We've never raced against each other. We always race with each other.
That's funny. Me and Carrie have that same thing going. We've raced with each other in a lot of endurance races. She actually took my Spec E46 to VIR a few weeks ago and drove that for the first time and had a blast. And I have a donor sitting in my driveway that I drive as a daily driver that it seems like is going to become her race car.
Oh, very nice. I've got a plan, a devious plan.
Uh-oh.
Let's once the schedules are released, let's work this out. We can have the boys in one of the Sunday Cup cars and the girls in the other Sunday Cup car, and we'll be able to commingle and see how things go, and do grid life all at the same time.
I'm in it.
Right. We have to work on our schedules. If we only had people to do this for us, but we'll do it by ourselves. That's okay. Don't threaten me with a good time. So you think Spec E46, it sounds like a fun car. It sounds like there's lots of people there. If you were going to go out and go shopping for a Spec E46 car, or for a Spec E46 start of a car, what would you be looking for, and what would you look out for?
As in budget, or just as in
car? Like identifying, do you buy one built, or do you buy one that is basically a shell or a daily and then convert it? And what do you look for?
Depends on the type of person you are.
True.
I like to build a car. I enjoy the process of building a car, even though I really don't have the time to do it, but somehow I find myself doing it.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you're doing it by the decree soon.
Yeah, seems that way. But that'll be fun, and
Absolutely.
I'll get her involved, and my daughter, who is 14,
nice,
and has learned to drive stick recently, and seems to want to get involved in this. Maybe I'll get her involved and help out a little bit as well. But yeah, car. It depends on the person. If you want to do it yourself, if you're on a budget, you can do it on a budget. That's part of the beauty of the class as well, is you'll look out there and see some of these cars, and they may be high up there in the budget, where it's a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 car potentially. And well, that may be a turn up to some people. But if you go through the field and go through the class, you'll see that some of these guys are putting $20,000-$25,000 in parts in the car and doing it in their garage. And guess what? They're just as competitive as these other cars. And that's part of what makes the class great. You can do these add-ons, the AIM dash, do your awesome livery, do the interior all decked out and add up the build cost. But it's is it really adding to the competitive advantage of the car? Maybe not. So you could pay for someone to build a new one, or they pop up every now and then for in the anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 range for a used one. And I always advise people, make sure you get a good inspection out of that from a good race shop. And there's plenty around. And if anyone has any questions on who a good race shop might be in a certain area where a car is, feel free to call us at Bimmerworld, and we can certainly help guide you in that direction to make sure that you don't make a poor decision. I have certainly seen people spend a hefty amount of money on a race car and gotten it home and realized, well, that was a bad decision after various cage things. The car just wasn't as advertised. It can become an ugly mess pretty quick.
Yeah, the cage is a big deal. We bought a car that was pretty much done and it looked great. And then we got in the car and the cage was like right in the middle of my head.
Oh, gosh, yes. That's either you're selling it or you're cutting the cage out and redoing it, which is just
That's
an
what we did.
Incredible amount of work.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so much fun.
I'm sure.
So much fun. All right. So let's pretend somebody wants to build their own. If only there was like a spreadsheet that listed every single part and part number that they needed to do. If only
there
existed.
was.
But it's got to be somewhere. Somebody's got one. Who's got one?
Fortunately, I think we know a place where one lives.
I do.
We've got one that we put together that to help out with the Spec 46 class, and honestly, that's kind of the approach we take with any car build of any sort, with any customer, of taking a backed out approach of here's the recipe for it. We've done it with all kinds of different builds over the years, but that spreadsheet that we're talking about even has breakdowns of budget, competitive, premium, and you can break it down to what fits for what you're trying to accomplish, and certain pieces can get cut out and certain pieces added in.
I mean, the thing I liked about it was you can kind of bite off what you can chew to start with, and then keep working your way up the budget as the budget goes.
Yeah, and these cars also work really well as a daily driver. Like I actually daily drive one right now as my beater car, and I love it. And there are a lot of people that do that and will slowly put on various pieces of the components that make it still an enjoyable or okay street car, or you're having a dual purpose car, and we call them spec lights, and you slowly build into it.
If you're looking for something that's currently a daily driver or recently was a daily driver, is there anything to look out for?
It's always easiest if you can get a 2003 or older car, because that is the MS43 ECU. You can backdate the MS45 ECU, which is from the later cars, but the MS43 ECU is required for the class. That's just how the tune works in the car. So that makes one thing easier, one less budget spend. Probably the biggest thing to be looking for is rust. Whenever you get a car that has any sort of rust on it, I can tell you, I've been down the path myself before, and you're gonna chase your tail. It's tough to get ahead of it. You can get ahead of it, but it can really just be a pain in the butt for a long time and haunt you through the years of your race in the car. Other than that, I used to hunt for manuals only, but the donor cars are getting a little bit harder to find, and they're more and more expensive. So if you can find an automatic and do a manual swap, if you're you're pulling the car entirely apart anyway, so doing a manual swap really isn't that big of a deal. So I'm not really afraid of grabbing automatics these days.
Yeah, we did one on our M3. I had a pre-plague. The guy was selling it. It was like garage kept, never driven in the rain, essentially. And it looked like nobody had ever sat in the back seat. And he was like, I need to get rid of this. And it was a West Coast car. And I was like, okay, how much is it? He's like 12. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yep.
So.
Oh, yeah.
I got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
It's not 12 anymore, though, people.
They rarely stay that way.
No. 12 M3. I'll take that anytime. Anybody who has one, garageheroesandtraining@gmail.com. For $12,000, we'll buy as many as you have. So I guess the way you termed it, you had kind of 3 levels of the build. Is there kind of a prioritization that you would recommend? Like, should you attack the suspension first, or should you, like, what do you think?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to keep this car on the street, if you're still trying to get to and from work, then maybe doing the dampers aren't what you need to do. But also, you're going to look at what your donor car needs. You may have a car that has extremely worn out bushings, and you've got to, if you're going to drive it, you probably need to address that stuff. So, cooling system is always high on the list on these things. It's BMW, new plastic stuff I really have no issue with, but at the same time, these are cars that 2006 or 2020, so we're 16 years is the newest car, the newest E46 in existence, and that means you may have 16-year-old plastic cooling components that are keeping your car alive, and that's a time bomb potentially. So addressing the cooling system, do all the fluids, certainly that, cage, obviously, when you're getting to that point, you're at the point of full race car. You've got a trailer, you're going to be taking it, but hitting all the maintenance items, and then I would probably hit suspension after. So maintenance, cooling, suspension, and then I'm going to go into the other components that are probably going to take you to a full track car at that point.
Safety stuff, cage,
right?
Fire suppression, blah blah blah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, 16-plus-year-old plastic that's been heat cycled. Oh, I have no idea how many thousands of times.
Oh gosh, every time I take apart, there's a few plastic components plastic pipes that go into the head of those things, and every time I take one out, it always breaks apart, and you've got to take a pick and start picking out the plastic pieces that are inside the head, and you can, whenever you touch it, that was just waiting to fail on you on track or something.
Yeah, and it's not a minor failure.
Nope.
Both for your car and for other cars, because it's going to be juice in the track. So
that's right.
Fix that, people. Fix it. So obviously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that a Spec E46 car races very well in the Spec E46 class.
Yep.
Wow. Even a podcast host can figure that out. We talked a little bit about it before, but what classes do you see it fitting well, and what classes do you see it fits with a little bit of adjustment, either up or down in performance?
Well, there are people that have done GTS2 type cars by adding an aero to it, and the car fits fairly well there. But a lot of endurance racing, people will run, some people would even do EC with Champ Car with it, but WRL, gosh, what are they, a GP1 car or the GP2?
It's right on the edge, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah. So they do well there. I mean, they're super reliable cars. We talked a little bit earlier about why BMW, and the reliability is a massive piece of it. These things just kind of run and run and run as long as your drivers take care of them, which is certainly a factor as well.
There's that. Yeah, that loosen up behind the wheel guy. He's a problem. We're working on that. I mean, I want to say this sentence, but I don't have any wood near. Oh, I do have some wood nearby me. Okay. As long as you prep the car, it really does just kind of run more or less. They
do. They're crazy reliable. It's I think about the maintenance that I've done on my car over the past couple of years, and it's just kind of just works. And I see that recipe with a lot of people. It's especially if you're just sprint racing. If you're endurance racing the car, you're going to take a more thorough look through the car after each event, because an endurance event is going to be,
that's a different prep.
That's one weekend of a WRL weekend could be 3 or 4 seasons of someone's sprint season.
Depending on how it went, it could feel like more.
No kidding. Which I love endurance racing. I think it's great how much it's taken off, but it definitely takes a toll on cars. But a lot of these sprint guys are just tires and pads and rotors every now and then, and that's kind of all they're doing on the cars. And it's pretty sweet to not have to really dig in and have to have really hardcore replacement intervals for all your stuff, because the car just pretty much works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue that we've found with racing these is it's pretty much BYOP, because you can't go down to the local auto parts store and pick up the mass airflow sensor for an E46 and try to get back for the race. So you got to basically bring your own parts. So that's about the only.
It's true. To a certain extent, in the NASA paddock in the Mid-Atlantic region or north or south, there's enough of us around that it seems like someone typically has what you need as a spares package. And if anyone has any questions about spares packages, I've put together a few different ranges of that, and I probably need to put that as a similar spreadsheet that we've got for the part of, this is your core spares, this is your, I'm gonna go to this level at the track, and then there's also the hardcore level where, are you really going to change the transmission at the track, or is your weekend done?
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully the links to said spreadsheet will be on the episode notes, so people will be able to see that. And I would recommend, how about this, give us a fourth column, and that's for the person who lives in, and their team races from Northeast Pennsylvania, and they're going to the NASA Thunderhill 25, which is a little bit of a distance, and they want to get it right and try to stay on the track for as much as possible. Maybe we need a fourth column for the "you're sick" people.
That's a haul out there, and that's an awesome race. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So let's talk a little bit about the BMW. Because I've been kind of working on them also. What are some of the concerning inspection areas that you would, first of all, double check the weak spots of the BMW?
The weak spot on the E46 is notoriously the rear subframe. That's probably the most common point to hit. It's they form some cracks. If you look at any car, there's always something that stands out as, oh, that's the weak spot of this car. And for that one, it would be the rear subframe area, where it mounts into the body, cracks around the sheet metal. So there are reinforcement plates you have to weld in, which it's a pretty involved job. But once again, if you're taking a car apart to build a race car, you're probably going to be there anyways. So you're going to take it apart and weld it up.
Yeah. I know the reinforcement areas are up underneath the differential, up in that little pocket. I know that's a high crack area. Is that the one you're referring to?
So above the differential, yep. There's also another one at the trailing arm pocket where we stitch weld those in place. They're held in by little spot welds, and we just stitch weld those in place. And then you want to put strut tower reinforcements in under the strut towers. Just beef up all that. Those will end up mushrooming out after a while,
right?
If you don't have the reinforcements in. So those are the common reinforcement areas to look out for.
Okay.
I can show you those on our car if you're not 100%.
Yeah. I have an idea where the strut towers are. The rear frame connections, I would have to look at that one, but I am familiar above the differential. I've seen that one. So what about your just general wear areas besides that? Are there
general wear? They're
or it's probably just the same thing. It's probably
like
under
pre or post
inspection.
race, things that may be.
Yeah, I mean, you're an inspect. Obviously you have consumables, your pads, tires, rotors, all that stuff. Wheel bearings are certainly on the list for, I don't know, to have an hour interval on them, but that's something to keep track of. Studs, wheel studs are something that people often neglect to replace regularly, but that's not necessarily a BMW specific thing. That's just something that is good practice to replace.
That's because they like seeing their wheel go by.
Nobody wants to see that.
They go so fast.
Yeah. So yeah, I have one. Okay, this is a big one. Somebody told me at one point, it's a very good friend of ours who was building a car. I love this statement. So when we first got our car, we didn't know what we didn't know. Okay. So, and one of them was consumables.
You don't
we
change
just
the oil every 3,000 miles.
Well, I mean, we did all the basics, just the very basics, but we didn't understand consumables because we still had the street car or driving a street vehicle mentality.
Oh, yeah.
So, right. And so starting out, like we started out with knowing nothing at all. I never worked on a car, never touched a car.
He
So
knows. He's talked to me on the phone.
yeah. So what would you say the general average of usages should be? The usage rates on consumables. This is like a real question that I would like to know, besides, veering off, since, right now we're actually
Like endurance racing, I guess would be the easiest way to put it.
yeah.
Well, I mean, endurance racing would be, you're going to have to be a set of pads, rotors, every race, no doubt. And
Mhm.
depending on the race, I mean, I'm probably doing wheel bearings after a 24-hour race. I'm going to go ahead and make sure, because you also know that your next race is going to be another abusive adventure.
Mhm.
You're going to do all fluids. I mean, that's going to be a basic. You're going to certainly hit oil, brake fluid, trans fluid, diff
Yeah.
fluid, everything. But you start to get into a little bit larger thing with, okay, well, what about engine and trans? How long is that going to last? And
Mhm.
it's probably a good idea to have a baseline of a leak down number of your engine.
Mhm.
Do a leak down test of your engine, see, get its basic health, and then probably check that periodically. Depending on what engine you're running, you may be in for rod bearings every season, or every, depending on how many endurance races a year you're doing, could be twice a season. Like an S54, you're probably gonna do rod bearings.
You would have to pull the engine and do your rod bearings.
No, you can do
You do not have to pull the engine to do rod bearings. No, you can do it in the car still.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
Valve lash, probably.
Say that again.
Valve lash is not going to be every 30,000 track miles for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, you'll want to keep tabs on that. Absolutely. Things like transmissions, I don't know that I have an interval, but you certainly will probably have a third or fourth gear that's starting to get a little bit crunchy, and you're like, oh, that's going to have to replace that.
It's going to start.
Yep.
It's time.
It doesn't get better.
Mhm.
Clutches are very driver dependent as well. If your
Mhm.
drivers aren't rev matching very well, it's going to be super abusive on the clutch, and which is abusive on other things, by the way.
Mhm.
And you may go through a clutch. A driver could tear a clutch up every event potentially, but
Really?
even just normal wear with proper driving, you may be in for twice a year or annually on a clutch,
Mhm.
or at least the discs of the clutch.
Right. So, is there anything that people are overlooking, either pre or post race? It's like they just don't think about it, that you've seen or heard about, because you get to talk to many more racers than we do. Is there any inspections or any like, oh, I didn't think about doing that, and you're just like, don't miss this one, or several of them?
Captain's log supplemental.
So, Miss Vicky,
Yes, sir.
do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those grid life events where you used to see the in-car video, and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on? Most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
We have no excuse, since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars, maybe
I
two.
really think we should.
I think we should,
I know.
because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
So what does
have-
Sentinel system do?
We could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there, and then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
I'll tell you what, just cleaning a car thoroughly. Don't just wash the car on the outside, but really wipe down the entire car. And I guarantee you're going to find some weird wire that came loose, some mild crack that's starting to form somewhere that needs to get patched up, some whatever. If you truly clean your car, you're going to find stuff and you're going to increase the longevity of your car. Something that we do on the pro team that I know a lot of people don't do is we wipe down the shock shafts after every event. And that will increase the service life of your dampers pretty significantly, actually. Another thing we do is we blow out the coolers after every event. The grime and grit and sand and whatever dirt you get in your coolers, you'd be surprised at how much efficiency that kills of those things, and really improves the life and cooling, which is going to help improve your engine life for your whole car.
We have two of those in our car, and I never even thought about cleaning them. Okay.
Yeah, we've got this little wand thing that's like a foot or so long, and it has little holes in it, and you compress air and you run it along and blow all the coolers out.
Wow.
It's pretty nifty.
We may need to get that. More toys.
More toys. More toys.
Sorry.
So yeah, that the friend of mine with the consumables, he was like, when I had asked him, like, how do I know what needs to be changed? And he says, you change the things that go whir. And I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. And now it was like a big light bulb that came off. And I'm like, for the new person who is working on a car, on a race car, and doesn't know what to do, and that makes perfect sense. It's going to take a beating. So, that was my big eye opener.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not the first person she's told that to. She
Oh
loves
my
that.
God. No, I do. Because, for the new person, it makes so much sense. So
the take home of that story was we had never, I think we had done 2 seasons on our entire suspension. Not a BMW, so don't feel bad. So we go and we change like the tie rods and the everything, just all the little ball joints, and their grease has been replaced by various sand and dirt particulate.
Yeah,
and lots of different kind of viscosity happening all at one time.
Totally different side. And we could not figure out why we were going through power steering pumps like every race, like no matter what we did, couldn't figure it out whatsoever. And when you're trying
we found out it was completely our suspension, and I think it was that one because we couldn't really figure out what was happening to the truck. So we just spent like one winter just tearing that sucker apart. I mean, all of it came off.
Like we should have.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And, I told Alan, when we were working together on it, like one whole winter right before race season, I'm like, this is a big animatron. That's all this thing is, because the S10 is such a basic vehicle that it was just so, it just keeps going. So yeah, it just tearing everything apart and looking at it going, it makes so much more sense for anybody who is looking to, off season their car and, do your work. Get dirty. Get dirty. Just do it.
Yep.
So for those taking notes at home, power steering pump versus trying to move and oscillate cement, power steering pump will lose.
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah.
Noted.
The things you don't know. Who knew? Miss Vicky, it's time.
Yeah. Okay, it is time. All right. So We haven't done this in a little while.
Have not.
So you are going to be introduced to the Fast and Furious questions, the story time questions, getting to
boy.
know you better.
Some
Have you
would
done
call
this
it
with us before yet?
I think I did do this. I think I did terrible, and I'm probably going to do terrible again. But
Okay.
we'll roll with it.
We've got
Okay.
new ones though.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
boy.
do new ones. Okay.
Some would say experience. Some would say subjected to. It's potato. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Miss Vicky, you got a new one that sticks out to you?
A new one. Go ahead.
I think you should do this one. It's one of your favorites. It's a new one.
Oh. What is your race card number and why?
958, and that is because Mila Parts, they're one of my sponsors. They started in 1958. It actually was 58 to start with, but apparently 58 is a popular number, and so switched to 958 to go with 1958.
Okay,
That's good.
That's a good one. Let's see. What is your most memorable car breakdown on the road or on the track?
Does a wreck count?
Sure.
Most memorable breakdown would be when I was in an incident where I rolled a car 6.5 times.
Ooh. That's extra.
Yeah, that was at a champ car race going into Oak Tree. That was an interesting one.
Hopefully the tree was not there.
The tree was not there. No.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Oh, Bill, I don't know all the new ones.
Oh, well, let's see. How about we do this one?
What's this one? I'm trying to find you. Oh. What car would you love to switch into that you are currently racing or raced in the past against? And at what track?
Oh gosh, I'm always in Specky 46s. So
No, you get to choose somebody else's car, though. It could be an E46. You never know. Could be one of James's cars.
Gosh, it would probably be something like that, like hopping in a GT4 or a GT3 and going to town.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you what one of those is, Vicky. It's very much more than what we have.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That would be awesome.
We're like a GT9.
Okay.
if such things ever existed.
So I have another one. What is your favorite track so far?
I'm spoiled with VIR being so close, and I am there 6, 8 plus times a year.
So jealous.
I'd probably say Watkins Glen is my favorite though, and I haven't been there in a couple of years. It's between those two.
We haven't done VIR. We've done Watkins Glen a few times though.
You haven't done VIR? Oh, you gotta come out.
All the things we do, they don't go there.
All right.
I think we're doing the wrong things.
We got to figure that out.
I know, got to. Maybe we'll do a Sunday Cup there. We'll talk to Adam, see if we can get to Grid Life to go to VIR and conquer 2 things at once.
That's right.
All right. I think this might be getting close to the last new one that you haven't been subjected to yet. What is your favorite thing to order at or near a track? The first thing to come to mind. Tell me the track and tell me what I have to order. It could be on the track or near the track.
Good Lord.
I want to know.
I don't even know what
food.
Pizza is the only thing that comes to mind for ordering.
Who's got good pizza? Tell me good pizza. The good pizza place near a track. We need good pizza.
Oh gosh. And then of course, when I think pizza, I think of Millie's at VIR, but holy cow, that pizza is way too cheesy, but that's what comes to my mind.
All right, Millie's. If you want extra cheese, don't bother. It's already done for you. Is that
that's
what we're
right.
saying?
Bill's very curious because he's been at these
know.
tracks and he's hungry and he wants to know where to eat.
If the car's working, I got nothing else to do while you people are out there for 6 hours. I gotta eat. It's fine. It's fine.
It's important. Food is important.
All right. Jennifer was not able to attend this evening's festivities, but her favorite question, I think we asked it last time, but just in case things change, what is your favorite car movie or car from a movie of all time?
For being a car guy, I don't know that I have one. That's interesting.
Talladega Nights. Ricky Bobby.
I feel like now that's stuck in my head. Now I can't get it out of my head.
That's right.
So I'm gonna have to go with that.
Days of
I don't hate
Thunder.
it. I don't hate it.
Just
No,
Days
I'm
of
going-
Thunder. Aim at
I'll
this,
go
aim at
Talladega
it,
Nights
and floor it. Right. Good.
I want to revisit one. It's what's the one thing that no one knows about you that would surprise them? Because sometimes it changes.
I can rebuild pianos. I grew up and my dad owns a piano
Wow.
store, and I can rebuild
Really?
pianos. Yep. That was my job from 16 to 20.
Wow.
Yep.
That would have taken a long time to get to that list.
Yeah. Wow. From pianos to cars. Look at him.
That's right.
You
Surprised he
go,
doesn't
rock
do
star.
Yamahas.
You go, little rock star.
I can't play. I can't play.
He just fixes them.
He's a
Yep.
textile. He's a tactile man? It's a guy that likes to work with his hands.
Yes, very much so. Very, very much so.
You know what? I really think that there are people that are desk people, and there's people that just like to work with their hands.
Yeah, and somehow I'm a person that likes to work with their hands that ended up at a desk.
Oh.
That happens.
All right, go ahead, Bill.
That happens. All right. I think this is the last one of the evening. You're getting off light tonight, Carrie. As far as your
Carrie.
driving and racing, it's a three-parter, so you're not getting off that
Oh, gosh.
easily. What is something you're relatively good at? Like, what would be one of your strengths, personal strengths, not, versus Ayrton Senna or somebody like that? What needs a little bit of focus, and what's the one thing you're going to try to improve on in the next year?
I think I'm pretty solid at traffic management in general in races, especially when there's multi-class stuff going on. But
Sounds like you and
also
Vicky.
something I need to work on is racecraft of setting up the pass. I, for a lot of years, raced champ car, and it was in a car that was faster than a lot of other cars. And then I get into spec racing, and it's like, oh, I have to work at getting the pass done. That's different. And so I plan to work on that, as well as working on, I don't find that I'm extremely good at qualifying. I am better at racing than I am at qualifying. So
There's a lot of people who have that.
Yep.
It seems to be you seem to either be really good at the one or the other. And then there's the mutants like Tom O'Gorman who are good, pretty much anything. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I found that I was too polite in qualifying. I would let people run over me a little bit, and I need to just take the track.
Vicky,
So,
what's your philosophy?
Me? My
Yeah.
philosophy? Oh, lately is my philosophy has been I paid to be here too.
that's right.
When they try to shove me off the track, or they try to keep pushing to take my spot, I'm like, I paid to be here too. I muscle right back.
Good girl.
She's sticking those elbows out. She's starting to fly.
Awesome.
It's been a recent thing when I used to be a very much a point by person, and now
Big
I'm
big lift.
Yeah. And now I'm definitely the person that's like, okay, I'm really going to fight for my spot that you're trying to take right now.
That's awesome.
There's
I love it.
there's nothing more frustrating than being in a NB Miata, and Vicky's like giving this huge lift trying to let people by. I'm like, they can pass you. Don't worry about it. It's going to take you 2 laps to recover what you just gave away right there. So
Right.
stay on it. Anyway, it's fun. So Phil, we're going to have some links to some great specs, E46 related docs. We're going to put them into the episode notes, so people driving didn't have to pay attention to websites. But if they do need to find all there is to know about various BMWs, not just the E46, would you know a website that might be perhaps useful for such information?
It is funny you ask. I do.
Oh, really?
Bimmerworld.com. We got you covered.
Yeah, you do. It's very sad when I go there and it's like my credit card information's already popped in before I even log in. It's fantastic.
We're making it easy for you.
So trust me, you make it way too easy. It's way too easy. And if people want to follow along with you and some of your racing, is there a way to keep up and see what you guys are up to?
Yeah, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok as well. Yeah, everything is just at Bimmerworld.
Mm-hmm. And you guys have started putting out some really cool videos that I like watching. Some of them are how-to videos, and some of them are how did we do videos. And granted, it's not very difficult for me to learn something, but I have learned quite a bit from them, and I do appreciate it. And your team seems to be doing quite well this year, and good luck in the future, sir.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
You too.